Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I am here in the studio with my two dear podcasting friends, Dan Vaderbonker, our producer extraordinaire, and Justin Curry, known the world over as Chasing Artwork. Gentlemen, we're face to face again. How does it feel?
It feels great.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you guys.
I know the audio quality is already better.
You can just tell.
Yeah, well, and we haven't interrupted each other.
Right.
Which is like what Zoom does. Forces you to talk over each other.
You find yourself really judging the other person's internet connection, too. It can't be mine. They're probably
It's got to be them, yeah. You definitely cache dispersions. The other thing, too, is even as I saw you lean towards the microphone, I knew not to talk and speak over you, whereas if you were at Zoom, I would have already railroaded right past whatever you were going to say.
Ooh.
Oh, so hopefully this is the new normal again. We are leaving tomorrow at 4 a.m. to get on the road to Calgary Expo, to stay on the road all the way through until the Saskatoon Expo. Is this a good idea, Justin? What do you think?
Of course. Yeah, it's returned to Calgary. It's been, 2019 was the last time Calgary happened.
Oh, no. All kinds of interruptions.
Yeah.
It's a really busy day.
No, it's okay. No worries. Thank you guys.
So I need to take this.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
you take that. And I'll just preface this by saying, on the few days leading up to a major trip like this, we end up with a schedule that is every hour of the day something. And then invariably some other something interrupts, or the previously planned something gets turned into a maybe and then becomes a something again at the wrong time. So we've been dealing with sort of 40 moving parts over the last week, and then a storm happened, and then a stat holiday, and then a family holiday. And so what we had previously planned to be kind of 7 days worth of moderate tasks have become 2 days of intense, like every 15 minutes a critical juncture has been reached. So that's where Justin just went, to answer the phone on a critical juncture.
That's okay. This is what this podcast is. It's a look into the lives of working artists. So.
Yeah, and one of the things that we have going for us is we have a bunch of new projects. But I'm a little bit obsessed with getting new work out. So even my newest book that nobody in Calgary has seen isn't new to me anymore. And I have a new book that is new to me that I was trying to do a short run convention exclusive for. I paid same day shipping for, was supposed to be here 7 days ago. And the storm has meant that same day delivery is, lost to the ether. And that's on 3 different projects. But one of the printers that we dealt with had printing in a city. It was like to the front and the lee of the storm. So they switched one of my printing to on the other opposite end of the storm. So the storm would pass and then they could ship on the right side of things. So if I'm a little frazzled, that's why, Dan.
No worries. It's all good. The storm kind of freaked us all out. I feel like we all just collectively went, what? And then this is something we used to have to deal with. And we
all the time.
We hadn't had it for a while. It was kind of a big blizzard. And so I thought we did panic as a city a little bit, including myself. I would say I was out buying some stuff the day of. And then when it actually happened, it was a little underwhelming, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I've seen bigger storms.
I wanted the gigantic snowfall of my youth, for sure. I did.
I remember that 97 blizzard. I was downtown clubbing. That was a very memorable night.
And Winnipeg had already spent all of its snow removal budget. So one of the reasons I think they shut down the city was really so they didn't have to plow.
That's right. They're just going to wait for it to melt. We're still shut down.
Right? Because we've had more snow this year than we had in the last 100 years. All happened.
Right.
So, what are you going to do? So what we are going to do, though, is we're going to get in the car first thing in the morning, and we're going to drive 16 hours to Calgary, which actually is like the greatest vacation I've had in months. To just have 16 hours where all I have to do is wake up and drive in a straight line and then nap and then wake up. And we do this thing. Longtime listeners of the podcast will know Justin and our long driving strategy, which is we listen to an audiobook while one of us sleeps. And so whenever you wake up and it's your shift, the person before their nap recaps what you missed, and then you carry on. And we just listen to half of a long book on the way.
Do you have your book picked out for this trip?
We have a few. We have some Jim Butcher, I think, and a couple other surprises, and a Stephen King one in our back pocket.
You always have a
case.
Stephen King one, yeah.
Yeah. Stephen King is the old standby. It's like if we try a bunch and they're not right for driving, Stephen King always has that right amount of anxiety that keeps you gripping the wheel and awake and alert for a long drive.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Justin.
So, crisis
Okay.
averted?
No.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Crisis
okay.
extended.
So here's the situation. When you send prints to the printer, you send them a digital file. They open it on their computer, and then they send it to the printer machine. And this is like $1 million, like 20-foot big digital machine. And it has a hard drive within it. And the printer kind of decodes the print file and then prints it. And Advantage, they have
Layered PDFs sometimes cause a trouble there.
It can, yeah. So there's a hard drive in that printer, and if you send it really weird, complicated files, that hard drive might have trouble decoding it, like breaking it apart into what it needs to print. So I've had that happen before when I sent raw vector files that were so complicated and like just little pieces everywhere that the hard drive of the printer couldn't handle it, and it like crashed the machine.
So, dear listener, if you're wondering what could possibly be so complicated about Justin's work that it would crash a machine, Google shattered vector artwork, and there's your answer. So you've crashed their machine.
Well, and no, but like vector is like that's the thing about vector. It's simple, so it's not supposed to. You're supposed to send raw vector, and it's supposed to print properly, and that's not the case in the way I use it. But Vantage has this great new paper stock that is 12 by 24. So it's a long format stock. It's like a nice wide or nice tall paper. And they print that on their new machine. And that new machine's hard drive just up and died. So it's not like they're missing a part or ink or anything part related. It is the little computer in the printer has bricked.
So it's not you, or maybe it was you.
Took one look at that file and said, nope,
But
not doing it. I quit.
well, no, I learned early on that I have to flatten all my stuff. So as a last step, I flatten my vector into raster at whatever size I'm making it. But okay,
Back into my world you come.
So here's how we're problem solving, because Gregory and I hit the road at like 4 a.m. tomorrow. So they won't be able to get it fixed by then. But my little brother, I'm flying him out Thursday. So I'm going to have them get it all packaged up. My girlfriend will go pick it up, get it to my little brother, and he'll fly it out to Calgary a day or two after.
It takes a village to raise an artist, ladies and gentlemen.
And that, yeah. So that was like, that's the last hurdle. My pins arrived from China. That was the other thing has been in like limbo this last week.
Justin has decided to try becoming a sweatshop mogul, so he is now outsourcing to China.
Yeah, it's been quite a day, and it's not over yet.
It's just begun. Do you have any questions, Dan?
I want to know if it's worth the pins. Is it worth it for those enamel pins?
Yeah.
We've talked about it in the past, whether or not those are a thing people actually like. Yeah, they do actually like it, yes.
Yeah, people are into it. It's a new format. It's kind of cool. It's like a combination. The way you have to set up the artwork is you have to make it really simple. You can't just pump out a drawing and make it into a pin. You have to almost make it into a logo. So it's like distilling an image down to a simple graphic, which is like me getting to like stretch my graphic design skills, and like I really like logo development, so it feels like I'm getting to work those muscles again. Mm-hmm. And then people really like pins at comic conventions. And the way we're kind of working it into the store is it's a really easy add-on. So if you buy it outright, it might seem a bit expensive, but if you buy anything else at the booth, me adding a pin on is going to be only a couple bucks more. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I'm going to at least start out with them.
Cool.
And there's no substitute for the feeling of a 2D idea that became a physical object in the real world. It's difficult to describe. We're also picking up on the road tomorrow on the way some 3D printing of some toy designs we did for George McHale, the writer of Cover of Darkness. He has another project called Hybrid Force that we've been doing some design work for. And when you see something that was only drawn that is now standing on the table in front of you as a articulated action figure, and you just can see the thousands of hours that a kid could spend bringing it to life in their own way. It's just no substitute for that physical object. And the book itself, like when you made a book, you write the book, you figure out the pages. When it comes from the printer, and that first time you open the box, which happened today actually with Dead Work.
Oh yeah, we forgot. We had a book arrive today. Dead Work is now in the studio.
Timing.
So yeah, it has been.
Thank you.
It has been a flurry of a day.
My Kickstarter didn't work, by the way, so I want this. I know I bid for it, then the stupid thing didn't work because of my credit card. But I'll buy one however I can. And somebody promised
Your credit's good here.
Someone promised me I'd get a sketched version. So
Yeah.
We can make that
but
work.
this looks amazing. Look at this.
Yeah.
Holy
Fresh
crap!
off of the and
Does it smell that new?
Yeah.
That new smell.
so before you think getting a book delivered is all sexy and righteous, it's in fact what it means is you get a panic call from the book delivery guy early in the morning, and then Justin picks you up from your house, and you race to the loading dock to find that the guy didn't wait. He just unloaded it in the wet loading dock, but also to find that the loading door is jammed and cannot be opened, so you have to call the building supervisor to crank open the door so that then you can get your books into the building. That was our morning.
Yeah. That was how we started this
adventure.
day.
Yeah.
I mean, that just comes with the working in a 100-year-old building or whatever this is.
Yeah.
This is a pretty old building, so that doesn't surprise me.
So, adventure.
That's awesome. Very well.
Meanwhile-
Congratulations, though. That's great. New book day is always good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people who see me at a booth might think my whole life is just, top knots and fancy scarves. But the truth is, it's getting up early to be at the loading dock.
Yeah, it's really like the convention table is really the tip of the iceberg, right? Like 99.9% of all the work happens before the convention.
Yeah, absolutely true.
To succeed in creating life is the ultimate achievement. To hesitate, to fear, to doubt now would make everything I've ever done pointless, empty.
So how are you feeling on the eve of your departure? Nervous? Excited? Both?
Pretty good. Now, like my big concern was, so with the enamel pins, when I first did them, I printed 50 because I didn't know if I was going to be able to sell them, if people would want them, blah, 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 blah. It lasted 2 weeks on my online store. Didn't even get to make it to a convention with them. So I ordered a ton, like I went a little more into it. I got 1,000 pins this time, a bunch of different designs, a bunch of new designs. And they were supposed to arrive a couple days before now, so I'd have them just before the convention. Of course, they were a little delayed. And then my big fear was today, if I wasn't able to get them today, if I couldn't have picked them up, then I wouldn't have been able to pick them up for the next 10 days while I'm on the road, and they would have been sent back, right? They wouldn't have held them in FedEx. If you don't pick them up after a couple days, they send it back to the shipper, which is in China. And so that was my big fear because it was it was a hefty investment of a big metal box. So now that that's out of the way, and I've now just put out that last fire with Vantage with the printer about the last print, all we really have to do is pack.
Load the car,
Yeah.
buy some groceries,
Tomorrow's pretty chill. Once we get on the road, it's audiobooks and naps and
and I think an important point for Winnipeg convention goers, given the neighborhoods that we would dwell in, we're also storing the car loaded in an underground parking so that at night nothing bad can happen to our car that has our entire livelihood packed into it.
That comes from experience.
Yeah,
See episode whatever.
Somewhere in somebody's house is some of Justin's artwork.
because that was the other thing. Had we done it tomorrow, this is good that we ended up doing it this way because tomorrow we would have woken up early, found out that the loading dock couldn't open, and we couldn't get our car in there because it snowed in.
Yeah.
That would have really
So really
added
it's
to
a
our
clink.
time. Yeah, it's definitely a clink that
a
we
clink, yeah.
started things early.
Good.
Yeah. Clink is what we call it when our two horseshoes. I have one up my ass and he sometimes has one up his ass, and when they clink together, things are working.
Okay. So what is the agenda for this road trip? What do you guys, I know it's all naps and audiobooks, but then once you arrive, it's all set up and con.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've arranged. Calgary is a 13-point-something hour drive, so it's a fairly substantial drive. We're planning to arrive with enough time to drop all our stuff off and at least begin setup. And then Thursday, the show doesn't start till 2, so we can get there early in the morning and have a couple of hours to really take our time, set everything up. And it's also a great time to walk around. But sometimes that's to our disadvantage because people are walking around during setup and want to chat.
Yeah, chats.
And there's going to be a lot more of that this time
Setup
around.
chats, yeah.
Because
So
it's
we're
been
trying to
2
build in
years.
time for setup chats. I said to Justin, what I don't want is someone to be like, oh, Gregory's really changed after the pandemic. What an asshole. He doesn't have time for anybody. Like, we're trying to build in time to be like, I'm not in a rush. I do have time for everyone. I do love people. I'm just bad at it because I haven't done it in a while, right? So trying to get that sorted. And then normally what we would have done is arrange lots of bookstores and comic stores in between them in Saskatoon. We're not doing that this year. We're just going to do a little bit of a workation in the middle. Also because if we pick up anything we don't want in Calgary, we don't then drop it off at every little mom and pop bookstore and comic store along the way.
Still
well
being
said.
safe,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Still
we'll be
being
able
safe.
to know before we hit Saskatoon whether it's a good idea that we enter the building is kind of our plan. So just trying to be
So-
responsible as possible given
Greggy, this is your first away show
Yeah.
since 2019.
Yeah.
Are you feeling a little overwhelmed by the amount of, and we have new stuff just arrived today, the amount of new stuff at your table when somebody, even like a hardcore fan of yours, shows up? What's new since last time I saw you? How are you going to phrase that conversation? How's that going to go?
You know, it's funny to attach a long sigh as if it's a problem to have so much new stuff, because I don't mean it like that. Like, I'm very fortunate in that the publisher's stuck by me and I have some work and I have a whole pile of it, but I have a whole pile of it. And so normally what happens is it staggers over the year and you get to put the spotlight on the new thing with all your heart and soul and just really be proud of it. And that spotlight's moved a bunch of times. And so my son Finley, my youngest son, asked me, like, is this more like work or more like an adventure, this trip? Remember that it's 2.5 years since I've left for something like that. And he was used to me leaving a lot then, but he was also a lot younger. And I explained it to him that, I was like, your dad compartmentalizes. When you make work alone and you're excited about it and you're in love with it, but you're alone. And I put all of that joy usually in a little place in my brain that I unpack when I'm in public, because it's often a year later that people see that book. And I just try to put all that joy and love and all of those excitement, and I bring it all out. And what I try to put into that spot is any annoyances about travel, any annoyances about like a bad customer or a like demanding customer, any of that kind of stuff, I just sort of pack away. And I try to like bring out the love and I put away the negative stuff. And so Tara walks in, that's my wife, dear listener. She walks in, she's like, so what your father is telling you is he's trying to be an emotionless robot at this moment in time, but he's going to try and have a good time on the road. And I was like, that's about right. So that's where I'm at. It's like just switching the positions of that time and anxiety and feeling and love and apprehension and commerce all wrapped up into one thing.
But the heart, the brain, you have to keep them alive.
Yes, we've done it before.
Inside another human body?
We don't need a human body.
As a showrunner, Dan, are you starting to get more excited about FanQuest seeing like all these shows actually happening now? Because last year it was a lot of still false starts. Yeah. Not too many things happen. But now that it seems like, we're a little bit back into full swing of things, getting excited.
Did you catch the eye roll?
I did. That was I rolled to the moon. What's going on?
Mike might have picked that up.
I don't think of myself as a showrunner. FanQuest is awesome. I love the show, and we are absolutely doing it. I have tried not to think about it. It was just too upsetting to me over the course of the pandemic to even go there. So I did try some stuff. I mean, you guys remember we did that awesome online panel Halloween thing where it was Stephen Kostansky.
Yeah, Psycho Gorman. That was so much fun.
Oh, Psycho Gorman is so good.
It is.
We have to have him back.
Hunky boys.
This podcast, really, we should.
And he's got a new comic that they launched, the Kickstarter.
There we go. Okay, I'll
add it to the list.
Can we complain about Saskatoon for a minute?
Yeah.
No. Well, probably.
I know we can, but should we is the question.
Should we?
Go ahead.
Why don't I lay some context?
Do you know about this?
I have no idea. No, I don't know what's going on.
There are new show organizers for the Saskatoon Expo. Take it away, Justin.
So, new organizers for the Saskatoon Expo, which is a pretty good show, but a fairly small show, right? So, people from Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, usually like local people go. Not too many people from Toronto fly in, but there are some artists and vendors that fly in for that show. It came to my attention a couple weeks ago that no tables will be supplied for the artists or the vendors, and you have to rent them from the arena itself. So as an artist, you booked a spot, but there is going to be no table or chairs at that spot, and now you must fill out 4 to 5 pages of paperwork, and almost like if the spot was what I think they were like,
if it was like $150, you're spending another $125
they were
on your tables.
$88 a table to rent a table.
I see.
So this happens
If you
sometimes
get
with
them
vendors.
early, but so many people didn't know that they're going to show up not knowing and have to pay on the day, which is a different price for those tables.
Which we've run into. There is no worse feeling than showing up at your booth and realizing there are no tables waiting for you there. It's just a blank spot on the floor. Mm-hmm. And 99.9% of all booths need tables. Like, it's very rare that there is a setup that doesn't require a table. So it really does seem like, I really don't like it. But
it feels like a hidden cost that is almost usury. Like they're just assuming that you're going to get there, panic, and have to pay extra at the last second.
Well, and speaking of hidden costs, the only time this came up was so for Saskatoon, you go to the website and you say, I want to become an exhibitor, and you submit your email and what you want to be. And then you send that off, and then they send you to a secret locked page for your application. And in that application, it says that you won't get tables or chairs, but it's kind of like with the jargon of everything else in the show. Once you hit submit, you never see that page again. You only see that while you're filling in your information to submit. So once you've hit submit,
it doesn't become a document that you get a copy of.
You don't get a copy of that.
It's like the other terms and conditions that we all click. I agree to those terms and conditions.
Yeah.
We sign our life away every day when we agree to buying coffee from Tim Hortons.
So months later, I was trying to, somebody told me this and I didn't believe him, and I was trying to find any kind of verbiage or paperwork or anything on the site that talked about that, and there was nothing. And so I ended up going to the Artist Alley Canada Network on Facebook. It's a big page.
Actually, I think I'm on that.
Yeah, no, it's great because people will post about shows that you don't know about, like upcoming shows that were great, bad, etc. Like, people are just sharing comic convention news, and it's a good little page.
So you know how there's a person sometimes downtown in a big city who's standing with a sandwich board that says the end is near, right? That was Justin. He showed up at the Facebook thing, and he said, just so you guys know,
Ringing a bell. The Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the stand. Is that who he was?
That's what he is. Just so you know, there are this is what's happening there. If you haven't read your fine print, there's probably no tables. And then, that scene in Frankenstein, the original black and white Frankenstein, I think the pitchforks and the torches and all of those people, I think you instigated the march unbeknownst to your own self.
I believe they were then flooded with emails from every single artist that saw that post asking if this was in fact the case. So I think within an hour or two, there was 87 comments of people freaking out.
Oh, man.
And getting angry and probably going off to
Justin wasn't the only one that missed it. Nobody, anyone who signed up from the previous show. Here's the other thing. The show had switched hands. So anyone who was used to dealing with the last show organizer who rolled their table fee over assumed everything was the same.
No, so 2020, people applied and got accepted, but no money was ever exchanged. Nobody actually bought their tables. Yeah. So there was also a bunch of people who thought, because they got that confirmation, yes, you're in, we'll bill you later, they thought they had a table at Saskatoon, when in fact they didn't, because no money was actually paid, and that those show organizers are no longer the organizers.
Oh, that's even worse than I thought.
So there was a huge... there was also a bunch of people panicking, thinking that they had spots, but didn't. Because some people replied look at my form. It says stuff about tables, and other people pointed in that's not for this show. That's for 2020.
Those people are gone.
That show doesn't exist anymore. And they freaked out. So after 2 hours and 80 some comments later, somebody messaged me directly, says, I just got an update. They are now giving the artists tables. So because of this influx of emails, the organizers...
So Frankenstein's castle was on fire.
Yeah. Changed their tune, and now they are supplying all the artists. If you bought one spot or 2 spots, you get 1 or 2 tables. So the artists weren't at least out. But the vendors were still quite upset. There was a couple people who, they had they needed 10 tables. They had a huge spot. And 10 tables is an extra grand.
Yeah.
Almost. And if you're just like a sword, they have like those medieval like fight demonstrators and stuff like that. Like a lot of people need a lot of space. They're not necessarily there to make money. An extra grand on top of your expenses can really break you. So first time show organizers. So this may have all just been, not money hungry.
Motivated, yeah.
Like, evil businessmen. It could have just been like this is their first convention. They're doing their best. They didn't realize that's, tables were assumed.
Yeah, if we give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe they just asked someone who normally does conventions but not Comic-Cons what's typical. And maybe
they could have asked the venue, right? My thought is just like the venue put that charge in there and they just kind of accepted it and thought, oh, this is the way things are done. That's kind of where my mind goes. Because if you say that they have to pay the venue, it reminds me of, and I don't think this is the case anymore, but back when I first started, getting involved with C4 and you had to go, I remember the first one of those I went to and you had to pay extra for the Wi-Fi, for the internet.
Yeah.
I was like, and it was like $80 for the weekend or something for internet. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I have to pay for internet access here?
This
is ridiculous.
Everybody
and power,
does that.
and power too.
Yeah, if you want internet access at New York Comic Con, it's like $600.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 100% common.
Well,
I am
York
blown
doesn't
away when
surprise
there's
me.
free Wi-Fi. That's rare.
Well, in Winnipeg, I believe now. I don't know. Has that been the case last couple of years? Have you guys
Because it's
looked
like
at
the
it?
Telus Center. They have
They have like
yeah.
a sponsorship with Telus.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, So my first thought would be the venue, but certainly we can learn about communication and how it's important to communicate these things with the artists. And if they really meant for all to be above board, they should have been communicating, hey, this is an extra charge, or at least been on top of it when you made that comment of this is. Sorry, we didn't realize this. Let's fix it and immediately do that. It kind of sounds, based on what you're describing to me, that they were backing around to it and said, okay, fine, we'll give you guys the tables.
Because the easiest way to solve it is just because you're presented with an invoice that you then have to pay.
Right. And then after the show, when you just got a bunch of money from all your sales and you can just easily pay it and forget about it.
Right.
Or what a lot of shows do is when you're applying for your booth, they just make it an extra check mark, right? They're dealing with it. The thing that really annoyed me was I had to print out 4 sheets, fill out my credit card information, take pictures of them, and email it to some third-party renter company in the convention center. So which was like 4 times the amount of paperwork I had to do to get the spot itself. Like something's wrong there. And then the other thing that is happening in Calgary and Saskatoon, and I don't know if this is going to be happening everywhere, but they're now expecting individual artists to have insurance for their booth. Like liability insurance. So if your booth catches fire and falls on a family,
Right.
you need to be covered.
Isn't that the con's responsibility?
Well, and it has been in the past.
It has been in the past, yeah.
As the showrunner, I've had to pay insurance for that
you
stuff.
have to pay insurance. So are they double dipping
Right.
or are they just not prepared?
They're not prepared, I don't think. They knew that. I didn't know that either. I had to find that out the hard way.
Yeah.
I didn't do that the first year.
Ooh, we snaked through.
So, yeah. I mean, really, the venue should be the one telling them that, too. That's really on the venue to inform them of that.
Yeah.
So there are certain things everybody's kind of has their part to play in this, and you just can't assume that everybody's going to communicate everything they do very clearly, and I think that's kind of what this is.
And in the grand scheme of things, of all the things going on in the world today, these are small problems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But,
Our podcast is about this kind of stuff, though. So we get to vent.
It's valid. I'm saying it's absolutely valid, Justin. But good for you for bringing it to the attention, and now nobody has to worry about it.
Yeah. Well, and here's another side. I think the Facebook group, someone wants to look for it and become a member of it. What is it called? It's the Artist Alley, Canadian Artist Alley Facebook group.
Canadian Artist Alley Network.
Network, yeah. Network is the key search feature.
Yeah, so wherever you are, look for a Facebook group for there. I've found like people will share tips on like where to get the best bags for your artwork, how to ship things, how to get a good label printer, how to run your Etsy shop. Blah blah. Like people are just talking shop. It's very useful.
And sometimes people will have to at the last second back out of a show, and they'll say I have an extra table or an
that
extra
would be the
spot.
place.
This is a good way if you're having trouble getting into a show you'd like to be into. Mm-hmm. You can just and you can post and ask on there. You can say, I'd love to go, but they're all booked up. Is there anyone who isn't going to make it? And you can find a way in that way too. So it's very helpful. That's the part of the internet that still works. Like people can still help each other
right.
if that is the actual design of the group. So that part's good. What is the new thing you're most excited about, Justin? Of all
Like,
your new things.
Of all my new things. Because I have a lot of new things. I have a bunch of new pieces. My new art book has never been to Calgary. Dragon Nanny's already seen Calgary. I'm still excited about that, though. The new pins
They
I'm
haven't
pretty
seen it
excited
with me
about.
there.
These are like his children. Like my new kid, they've never been to Calgary before. I'm so excited to get to see Calgary for the first time.
It is like that.
I printed a bunch of really big canvases, bigger than usual, because they were getting shipped directly there. So, and I have enough space to properly display them. That's the other thing. Like at a lot of shows, you won't have enough space to properly display big items, or how do you get the big items there? So this is one of the rare times that I can bring really big items and properly put them on display. And so I'm really excited about that. And we also noticed, like, some cities really like big format stuff. They really like big posters. They like big stretch canvases. Some cities, they like, I don't know if it has to do with the average household size and wall space, but you cannot for the life of you move a big item in some conventions. In other conventions, they fly. And Calgary is one where I've always had really good luck moving my bigger size stuff.
You could probably correlate it with the size of the suburb of that city.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I think so.
Calgary is pretty suburban.
There's a big surrounding area from Calgary as well, like all of southern Alberta there. There's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those ranches. All that space.
A lot of cows there.
Yeah, a lot of those cows.
Anyway,
I
about you?
have Automatic Age that the city hasn't seen. I've got Backbone of Night that the city hasn't seen. Red Earth, Dragon Nanny,
How
Dead
many new
Work.
posters?
At least 25 new pieces. It's a lot. I'm actually a little overwhelmed myself at how I'll even set up the booths to make each thing seem as special as I want it to be.
Because people can smell when you're not excited about something anymore.
Oh, yeah. Your excitement has to be genuine about the work, or why bother, right? And they know. If you're just like trying to upsell, they know. Like, people know. Everyone knows.
you don't really care about this.
Right? You just want your extra 20
Whatever.
bucks or whatever, right? Whereas I don't even know where to start. Like, I'm excited about all of them and almost like stumble-mouthed about, So my way in is simply, if someone says, what do you want that's new? I'll say, pick a genre, because I've got one for almost all of them, right? Yeah. You want sci-fi, you want horror, you want kids, you want, esoteric and strange. That's my deal.
Speaking of people's interests, I wanted to bring up, Gregory and I recently did, in like the last month, there was a one-day little Comic-Con in the city here. And then we've also been trying to do some bigger craft sales on the edge of the city at the Assiniboine Downs, which is a very big, nice venue, huge space, all this.
Normally for horse racing.
Normally
for
horse
from out of towns. Come gamble on us. There's no horses today.
But I've done, I think, 3 of them. I've done 3 of these, like Sunday, all-day craft sales. Got a really big booth. Tried my best, and it's just been like, it's been worth doing, but not really great. And then we had this one-day Comic-Con with probably, a third of the attendance, but I did like 5 times better than any of the craft sales. And it's just, there's such different setups, such different crowds, such different vibes. And it's just crazy how much more geared towards the Comic-Con crowd I am than the crafty crowd. And it was
if I was
so
gonna
blatant.
like pick a signaler of the demographics, it was like, definitely I sell better to people wearing heavy metal band shirts than wearing loafers, I guess, is what it comes down to.
Well, I mean,
Not
sure.
not totally, but it's definitely true.
I would say that there's a broader appeal in a craft sale, general craft sale, where there's a lot of different items and a lot of different things for sale, as opposed to a Comic-Con, which definitely has a very specific niche.
Yeah.
And what can you tell us what the sale? Which con was it? This one-day con?
What was it called?
I don't even know what it was called. It was like the C4 guys putting on.
Oh, that one.
Little
Okay.
one-day show at the Kubota Center.
Was
At
it
the
just
Kubota Center.
Cobra Collectibles?
Right. Okay. So just like a
C4?
toy. Was there guests or anything, or was it just like basically
There was a
vendors and-
wrestling guest
Was
there
there?
of some sort.
Okay.
I'm sure, yeah.
Cool. Well, that's cool.
It was very low key. It was like,
Yeah.
a small community center kind of thing. So again, we went in with 0 expectations because it wasn't much for our tables. It's really close to the studio. Like, it was really easy pack in and pack out. Like,
It wasn't a big event, but there was a line up out the door before it opened.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
everyone, including I think the show organizers, were like, "Oh, shit. Right?
People want to get. I mean, people are starved for this kind of stuff. We really want to get back to it. There's like people just chomping at the bit to go back to cons.
Yeah.
Winnipeg. There's been very little locally happening. We do have Icon coming up. That's the first big one in July.
I really like that show.
Yeah.
Shout out to the people who organize Icon.
Best run show in the city. I will say it forever.
Yeah.
They're so well organized. It's just it's really kind of disheartening.
Absolutely. And they just kept contact all through the year of like, we're not doing it, but we love the community and here's some, links to some fun things, but they just kept in contact so that they were on everyone's mind. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is I've lined up in May a number of school visits. Word of the Classroom Story events I was putting on for other classrooms has kind of spread, and some stuff I've done with Brent Schmidt, my Classroom Story co-creator, has kind of spread through classroom land. And so we've been invited by a few school divisions to come and put on some workshops. And so that's another in-person thing that hopefully doesn't get derailed in May. But like, I love the classroom, and I love that teachers are really interested in bringing imagination to the forefront of what they're doing. And so doing some training workshops where we can just give them material and say, here's how you run a like giant creative story engine in your classroom for a week or two. And you don't need us. Like, we just show them how to do it, and they can do it all themselves.
Would have killed for that when I was
right. Well, and that's the feedback we've gotten from students. Like, what happens is, and we always ask when we're doing these workshops that the teachers come, that they bring a few students with them. And what we say is not the best students, but actually the students that are the hardest to convince about the new thing, right? The kids that would be the hardest to get in your classroom, the constituent parts of your classroom, to try something new, bring those kids, because we're going to win them over. And then they will be your ambassador when you, the teacher, are there in the classroom with these kids that the rest of the room looks to and says, is this yeah or nah, right? And they'll look to that kid and they'll be like, yeah, I did it with it. It was awesome. So when we have a few of those students on our side, then it's usually becomes a very easy, quote unquote, sell, because what you're really doing is just saying, like, do you want to be really creative for a whole week, and then your teacher will figure out how to market?
Well, that part of it,
right?
As somebody who often has to do that,
right? But we provide to the teachers. We show them the scaffold of how to market.
No, exactly.
Easily, right?
That's thank you. We appreciate that.
So the teacher has the back end, and the students get the front end, and it's just one of my favorite parts of my job.
That's awesome,
for sure. So that returning, it feels like I'm like that Punxsutawney Phil. Right, climbing up.
He's a groundhog. Sees his own shadow.
Yeah, I'm not going to say. Which one is it? If you see it, it's good or bad?
If you see it's bad.
See it bad. So no shadows for me.
Right.
Just sunshine. That's all I want.
Something I'm also excited about is when we're at a convention, when we're on the road, and you're not really in an ideal work environment, you come up with the best ideas.
So good.
And that's something I definitely missed during like lockdown when we weren't doing events, is the brainstorming. That storm is so much stronger when you're away from home.
Yeah. And I get to bring with me, I have 150 shitty drawings, basically, layout pages of a pretty important new graphic novel project that I'm working on.
And you're going to crush that
bring on the road and refine, just low key. Like my collaborator and I joke with her that it's like, when I get back from the road, we'll have our graphic novel finished as a shitty draft, right? But then that becomes a way to story break and figure out what's missing and what isn't there. And it's just, 5x7 blank cards. It's actually cut up old prints we just draw on the back of. And I get to flip and do all the page turns, and I get to do that. And what's great about doing that at a show is I can bring a handful of those, and in the quiet moments or when I have an idea, you're just drawing quick. And it makes it feel like you're buying all that time back. Like you're on the road, but you're not gone from the whole process of making things up. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, there's some magic to it.
And shout out to Tom, Tom.
Yeah, we're usually in the week between the two shows, we stay at a friend of ours in Calgary who has the best video game basement ever.
In the history of time, possibly.
Including a cauldron full of candy bars.
Wow.
Yeah. That's maybe a bad idea. Those candy
So
bar
we might,
full.
binge a
But
Resident Evil game. And
Tom is just the consummate a host. He's just like, the doors are wide open and his heart is wide open and it's such a great time. And when we're after a show, you've just worked like 70 hours in 4 days, right? To just be able to flump into like just pure comfort and relaxation and hospitality for just 2 days is like so rejuvenating.
something to that, yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be a lot of work, but it'll also be some much needed rest after.
Cool.
Yeah. And I'm going to try and squeeze in a Zoom D&D game with my kids also on the road.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
That sounds
So-
good.
That was just self-indulgence. The whole experiment, really.
No, it wasn't.
Who can say, Charles? Perhaps there are some things man should leave to God.
We also have another change coming for the podcast. We
Bum,
have-
bum, bum.
Someone has been sitting here watching us silently.
Bum, bum, bum.
Making it way too dramatic, Greg. You take over since you keep interrupting me. And I'm going to pass the microphone to this person. To the our new producer.
Bum, bum. Our new guest requires no introduction. You know them from such... Actually, you should probably introduce yourself.
Yeah, you don't know me. My name is Arin. I'm the work placements person from Red River College. If you've listened to previous episodes, I went to school with Jonas. We're in the same class, done a lot of work together, so it's very exciting to be at the same work placement that he was.
I want you to try something on for size, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, please.
I want you to say, I am the new producer of Super Pulp Science.
I am the new producer of Super Pulp Science.
Now look adversarially at Dan when you say it.
I am the new producer of Super Pulp Science.
Okay.
Look, he's so crushed over there. That's right.
Sorry, Dan.
Okay. See ya. I'm not gonna walk on this thing.
We've had an excellent experience, in the past with people from the college coming to help out on the show and learning some stuff. So what do you want from us? What can we help you with?
You know, I'm just really looking to get that industry experience. I love audio production. I love podcasting. I love radio. I think it's so cool. I did a wonderful work placement last semester where I did a lot of like behind the scenes work for podcasting, did a lot of metadata, a lot of editing. And like this time around, I really wanted to get some of that like practical experience of like actually producing and editing and just kind of like the front end stuff of audio production and podcasting.
For the dear listener, metadata. Tell them.
So basically, it's like all the stuff that's like written for the podcast. So like when you see it on Spotify, it's like the titles, the description. It's also ad placements. So one cool thing that you can do with podcasting is that you can have like live ads. So basically, say like you had an ad placement like 10 years ago when you were doing this podcast, but it's no longer current. You can actually replace that ad with a new one that's like reoccurring. So you have these ad insertion points that you have to like find out where that would be in the podcast, and that has to be done manually. So I did that.
Yes.
Yeah, he taught me that.
Dan doesn't have a mic, so you can just hear him in his new producer role, which is over there.
I know all this stuff. We can do all this stuff for this podcast if you want. That's
Okay. Yeah.
But are we missing some like humorous, funny moments when you have a really dated ad in your podcast from 10 years ago?
Right? Like, you mean like an ad for Zune or something?
Like, go to the Ukraine. It's a great place for...
Well, it is a great place.
No, it's a great place, but
Listen, those are my people. What are you saying?
book your vacation today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally true. Yeah. Okay. So are you missing something funny if you have that old ad? I don't think so, because the purpose of an ad is to encourage people now. Right? We do have a lot of dated front material for our previous episodes,
Yeah?
but they are kind of time capsules also.
Have you gone back and listened to like earlier episodes?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah?
Well, particularly lately because I'm doing some work with the Wordsmith Academy to do some master classes with them and to do some front-facing classes and some self-facing classes, they call it, where you can download the content and then, teach yourself. And one of the things I offered them was some of our podcast content stripped down to what I called the good parts version, which is like take an hour of content where we talk about story and we maybe meander, and edit it down to just 20 minutes of the salient, important, actionable points, and to produce those as audio files with some video
You mean like
stuff in there.
the story breaking
episodes. Those in particular, I think would be great.
Yeah, I re-listened to the one we did with the plant astronaut.
Deadheading.
Deadheading, yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah. We just did a great 13 Horrors too recently. That one was
True,
really
a good vampire story.
Yeah, good vampire story. So, all of that to be said, been thinking about what the show used to sound like, what the show has started to sound like, and you're here to help us figure out what this show is going to sound like. So, what are you going to do?
I really don't know yet. I've been focusing very much on like the practical aspects. I think part of the reason that we are recording in person is because I would like the audio quality to be nice.
Oh, us too. Yeah.
But just like, I think that you guys are doing a great job as is. Like there's nothing like concept wise or practically that really needs to be changed. It's just kind of like taking it to that next level, and sometimes like a minor deviation in creative direction can kind of freshen that up a bit. But yeah,
Zany or guess?
Zanier guess? Like more...
I don't know.
a little more unhinged. No.
Well, I could get maybe a few improv actors I know to pretend to be crazy
I retract
authors,
my suggestion.
right? And then they could just have a freak out.
I don't want any of your improv friends in the podcast.
Point taken. Point taken. Let me ask you another question then.
Yeah, please.
You are... It seems so anachronistic, the interest that people have in audio production lately. As the future has sort of moved into 3D spaces and, video production and graphic novel content being adapted into... Isn't the radio, which is essentially what this is, a pirate radio station, how has that kept your interest? Like you as a young creative person, why?
Well, you know what? I think that it's like so interesting, like podcasting and radio specifically. So I was in choir for several years, like upwards of like 10 years, and loved music. And so when I was coming up on my high school graduation, I was like, oh crap, what am I going to do with my life? And I realized like I would really I was at a crossroads. So I was like, I could either go into welding or I could do like radio. So I decided on radio, and I've kind of kept my focus on that ever since. But like my passion started with music, and it's kind of escalated into this kind of like storytelling aspect. So there is kind of two types of podcasts in my eyes. So there's this kind of conversational sit-down podcast like what we're doing right now. And then there's something called audio dramas, which are basically like that old-timey radio show where you would like take a story and like put it in an audio medium. It's just like everything except for the visuals. And I think that that's such a unique form of storytelling because you really have unlimited options. So like with film, like say if you want to do like a science fiction film, that requires budget. If you want to have those special effects, if you want to have it look visually appealing, it needs to have some sort of level of budget behind that. Whereas like when you do audio production and like podcasting, like you see shows like the Magnus Archives or like things like that really like you can take that unknown aspect and that cosmic horror and have that without really any budget. So I think that that's such a unique thing to podcasting specifically, and is part of what makes me so interested in it, because you're allowed to do so many creative things in story elements, but also in representation. So you can have queer representation and like, to a lesser extent, like racial representation, because you can't really see people in an audio form, but like you kind of have those options, and you don't have to like be limited by that kind of overhead that you see with studio spaces. So yeah.
Have you guys been watching a lot of your podcasts? Like, do you guys watch podcasts ever? No. Is it
No, because
always?
I usually listen while I work, so I can't.
Yeah,
it's the joy
but I know
is
there's
that-
a lot of people that's like
Love
there'll
the
be
video part.
the Spotify version, or some of the Spotify versions now have video built in, or like the podcast will be on YouTube. So it's really a conversation like this, but there are a bunch of cameras and they're watching it and listening at the same time.
Are those just people trying to imitate Joe Rogan, though?
Yes. Well, I mean, Joe Rogan is so popular that many people try to imitate him, unfortunately. But it's becoming more popular it's just another form of the talk show is what it is. Like, this is just a talk show. We're sitting around a table talking, just like they have done for decades.
There's just no show.
Well, I mean, it's just a different type of show, basically. So
It's the talk tell. There's no show.
visuals are and I'm just kind of, always exploring like how to use YouTube to our advantage. A lot of people do like to watch a podcast on YouTube, a podcast version. So like a visual version of this. So we've talked about that actually with you, Arin, as far as putting that kind of stuff together. And we're not going to be able to do it, but we are looking at it for this podcast. Is that what you were getting at?
No, not well.
I thought
when
I thought you were trying to
envisioned,
do a smooth segue there, and I totally ruined it.
Same with Greg. I listen to podcasts when I walk the dog and when I'm traveling. So like watching it has never been a thing. I just know more and more people I talk to watch their podcasts. When I think of us taking our podcast to a visual medium, I think of one overhead camera and us drawing the whole time when we're talking. So you're not getting shots of us. You're just getting shots of the weird robot I'm doodling and whatever.
It's like Bob Ross. I was thinking of Bob Ross. So like a podcast version of Bob Ross.
I'm often thinking of Bob Ross. Tell me more.
We all are, really, every day. But that's kind of what you're getting at, right?
Yeah,
Your version of that, your art, your voice as we're watching.
I also think like if I had this on in the background, it's an hour and a bit long. You're not gonna you don't want to be visually engaged the whole time. You want something to kind of be going on, and you'll look at it every once in a while. I'm just visualizing. If I'm working, I have it on my second screen kind of thing. I'll look over at whatever the drawing's becoming periodically, but I'm not going to watch it intently.
Yeah. So you correct me if I'm way out, but it seems like maybe the real pivot towards things like YouTube is just about putting your store in the corner of where the traffic is, right? Yeah. It's just so many people engaging with media that way. Why not also put your podcast there?
For sure. And I think that there are like some podcasts specifically that lend themselves to kind of a more visual medium. Like I've been listening to a lot of Chuckle Sandwich, and like that is like a very visual podcast because I think that they're not really used to like, because they're streamers, right? So they're used to being on camera, used to be like kind of performing in front of an audience, but like that's actually something is interesting that you were talking about how like the drawing thing, like that sounds like a lot of what streamers are doing, actually, less so of a podcast medium and more so of a streaming medium. But yeah, there are like definitely podcasts that like some of those bits just don't convey when you're listening to it in audio only. Like you have to see it for yourself to really experience it. So.
Yeah, I've gotten frustrated with some podcasts and stopped, like unsubscribed or stopped listening because it was so. Like, why do you have it on Apple Podcasts where there is no visual and all you're doing is watching like YouTube funny videos and reaction videos, and it's so visual that at a certain point, like you gotta, why is this a podcast?
They're attempting some conversion, right? If we can get a certain number of people to hear it and then switch over and then follow us in that other space. And yet I also feel like the podcast, it's more speaking to what you're saying, I think, is the soundscape, the world building that can happen in the audio space can be so robust. Yeah. Midnight Miracle is the podcast that feels like every episode is $1 million. Like, how can a podcast feel expensive? But that show feels so expensive.
Made in a 200 square foot room with a bunch of sound effects.
You know what it is it's like real talents and people who are excellent at telling stories, but it's also the craft of blending it all together into an essay that is audio mixed with music, story, exposition, and just kind of blending it in together. Not something that we're trying to do here necessarily, but it does beg the question, what new thing is waiting that Arin will bring?
Yeah, I'll let you know when I know what it is.
Perfect.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, this has been Super Pulp Science, where we have talked about how we are biting off more than we can chew. No, how genre gets made. I'm Gregory Kmichuk, encouraging you to join the fight and make comics.